He was a man who walked into the trading pit with just $1,600 and walked out with a fortune worth over $200 million. Traders called him a legend, but his true secret wasn't what anyone expected. It wasn't strategy. It wasn't prediction. It was a hidden discipline that almost no trader alive can master. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. The untold story of Richard Dennis's secret to mastering trading discipline. But before we unpack it, let me ask you something. Where are you watching this from right now? Drop your country, your city, in the comments. I love seeing traders from all over the world come together here. And while you're at it, make sure you hit that like button. Share this video with another trader who needs to hear this, and subscribe to Trading Psychology Lab, because this channel is where the market meets the mind. Now, let's get into the heart of this story. Most traders believe that success comes from knowledge, from being smarter, sharper, faster. They chase strategies like treasure hunters searching for gold. They spend endless nights studying candlestick formations, backtesting indicators, running simulations. They think, if I just crack the code, the money will follow. But Richard Dennis proved something shocking. He proved that strategy is not the holy grail. In fact, he demonstrated that almost anyone, even someone with no prior market experience, could be handed a profitable strategy and still fail. Why? Because what separates winners from losers isn't intelligence. It isn't knowledge. It isn't even market timing. The secret is discipline. The kind of discipline that allows you to follow a plan with relentless consistency, even when everything inside you screams to abandon it. Dennis didn't just preach this, he lived it. Born in Chicago in 1949, Richard Dennis grew up in a working-class family. By the age of 17, he was already on the floor of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, working as a runner. His job was simple: carry messages, run tickets, do the grunt work nobody else wanted. But he had his eyes on the real prize, the trading pit. At 21 years old, he borrowed $1,600 to begin trading. And here's where the legend begins. Dennis wasn't looking for magic indicators or secret systems. Instead, he embraced a simple truth. Markets move in trends, and if you can ride those trends with strict discipline, you can make a fortune. With that $1,600, he built a fortune of over $200 million in under a decade. But this is where things get fascinating. Dennis wasn't content just making money. He wanted to test a theory that could shake the very foundation of trading itself. See, Dennis believed that trading could be taught, that you didn't have to be born with some mystical talent, some sixth sense for markets. He believed that if you gave ordinary people a set of rules and trained them in discipline, they could become extraordinary traders. Most of his peers laughed at this idea. They told him trading was an art, not a science, that instincts couldn't be taught, that some people had it, and most people didn't. But Richard Dennis wasn't convinced. So in 1983, he launched one of the boldest experiments in financial history, an experiment that would become legendary: the Turtle Traders. He placed an ad in the newspaper, inviting people from all walks of life to apply. No prior trading experience required. No fancy degrees necessary. Just a willingness to learn. Thousands applied. He chose just a handful. Some were scientists. Some were card players. Some were complete novices. And here's the incredible part. He gave them his own trading system. The exact rules he used to turn $1,600 into millions. Entries, exits, position sizing, it was all laid out. A playbook for financial success. But here's the twist. Not all of them succeeded. Some became millionaires. Others crashed and burned. Why? Same system. Same rules. Same instructions. The difference was discipline. And this is where the heart of Dennis's secret lies. See, most traders fail not because they lack a strategy, but because they lack the discipline to follow one. They second-guess their entries. They chase losses. They move their stops. They take profits too soon. In other words, they let emotions rule them. Dennis proved that discipline wasn't just important. It was everything. Without it, even the best system in the world collapses. With it, even an average system can make you wealthy. Now think about this in your own trading. How many times have you had a plan and then abandoned it in the heat of the moment? How many times have you promised yourself you'd cut a loss at 2%, only to give it a little more room and watch it balloon into disaster? How many times have you taken profits too early, afraid the market would reverse, only to see it keep running? This is the battlefield Richard Dennis was pointing to. Not the charts, not the indicators, The battlefield is in your mind. And this is why his story is so powerful, because it reveals a truth that most traders don't want to hear. Success in the markets isn't about outsmarting others. It's about mastering yourself. Discipline is what allowed Dennis to hold on to his winners long after most would have sold. Discipline is what allowed him to cut losses without hesitation. Discipline is what allowed him to stick to his system through drawdowns and doubt. And discipline is exactly what he tried to instill in his turtle traders. Some succeeded because they embraced it. Others failed because they couldn't. And in that contrast lies the greatest lesson any trader can learn. Now here's the question for you. Are you willing to face the same test? Are you willing to choose discipline over impulse, consistency over chaos, long-term growth over short-term comfort? Because that's where the real transformation begins. In the next part of this journey, we're going to peel back the curtain on the turtle experiment itself. You'll discover how Dennis trained his students, the rules he gave them, and why those rules still matter today. But more importantly, you'll see why discipline is the true dividing line between those who rise and those who collapse. So stick with me, because what's coming next might just change the way you look at trading forever. Richard Dennis didn't just believe in discipline. He was willing to stake his reputation and millions of dollars on proving it. In 1983, with his fortune already established, Dennis sat down with his longtime partner, William Eckhart. The two had debated for years about whether trading success was a matter of innate talent, or whether it could be taught. Eckhart argued that great traders were born, not made. Dennis disagreed. He insisted that trading was a skill like chess or poker that could be learned if you had the right rules and the discipline to follow them. The debate became so heated that Dennis finally decided to settle it once and for all, with an experiment that would later become legend. He called it the Turtle Project. Why turtles? Dennis had been inspired by a trip to a turtle breeding farm in Singapore. Just as turtles could be bred and raised systematically, he believed traders could be bred and raised through a disciplined training process. So he placed ads in newspapers across the country. Richard Dennis of C&D Commodities is accepting applications for a training program in trading. Those chosen will be trained and given real accounts to trade. The response was overwhelming. Thousands applied. From that ocean of hopefuls, Dennis and Eckhart selected just 14 for the first class. The group included a mix of backgrounds: a blackjack player, a security guard, a Dungeons and Dragons game designer, even a young woman with no financial background whatsoever. The diversity was intentional. Dennis wanted to prove that trading success had nothing to do with where you came from, and everything to do with whether you could follow rules with iron discipline. Now here's where it gets fascinating. The turtles weren't given vague principles. They weren't told to trust their gut. Dennis handed them a mechanical trading system, complete with precise rules for entries, exits, position sizing, and risk management. Here are some of the principles they were taught. Trend following, by breakouts when markets made new highs. Sell short when markets made new lows. Don't predict, just follow the trend. Risk control. Never risk more than a small percentage of capital on any single trade, usually around 1 to 2%. Position sizing. Use volatility-based formulas to determine how many contracts to trade, so risk stayed consistent across markets. Cutting losses. Get out quickly if the market moved against you. No exceptions. Letting winners run. Stay in profitable trades as long as the trend continued, even if it felt uncomfortable. On paper, these rules looked simple. Almost too simple. But in practice, they were brutal. Imagine this. You buy a breakout in soybeans. The price surges, you're up nicely, and everything inside you is begging to lock in the profit. But the rules say hold. Don't take the money. Wait. And wait. And wait. Days turn into weeks. The profits swell. Then suddenly, the market snaps back. You give back half your gains. Every fiber of your being screams at you to close the trade. But the rules say stay in. Only exit when the system tells you to. That's discipline. Or imagine this. You take a trade in coffee futures. The breakout fails instantly. You're in the red. Your pride wants to hold on, to give it one more day. But the rules say, cut it now. Take the loss. Walk away. Your ego fights it, your emotions resist. But if you break the rule, you fail the test. That's discipline. And this is what separated the successful turtles from the failures. Some of them embraced the rules. They learned to suppress their impulses and obey the system, even when it felt unbearable. These traders went on to make millions. Others couldn't do it. They hesitated. They broke rules. They gave in to fear or greed. And the market punished them. The same rules, the same system, the same training, but wildly different outcomes, all because of discipline. Richard Dennis proved his point. Trading could be taught. Discipline was the dividing line. Now here's the incredible part. Over the next few years, the turtles collectively made over $100 million in profits. Some became legends themselves. Others faded away. But the experiment sent a shockwave through the trading world. It exposed a brutal truth. The biggest obstacle in trading isn't the market, it's the trader. Think about what that means for you. If success in trading really depended on having some genius-level IQ or supernatural instincts, most of us would be doomed from the start. But Dennis proved that wasn't the case. He showed that anyone, yes, even you, can succeed if they build discipline strong enough to follow their plan. But here's where most traders go wrong. They think discipline means being rigid, being perfect, following rules like a robot. But discipline isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. It's about showing up every single day, ready to execute your plan, no matter how you feel. And that's where Richard Dennis's experiment becomes a mirror for every trader today. Ask yourself, could you have been one of the successful turtles? Could you have taken simple rules, repeated them trade after trade, and resisted every temptation to deviate? Or would you have cracked under pressure, like so many did? It's a haunting question, but it's also empowering, because if you can answer honestly and commit to building discipline, you already hold the same key Dennis handed to his students. Now here's where the story turns. The turtles weren't just following rules, they were fighting a deeper battle. A battle inside themselves. Every time they obeyed the system, they were overriding instincts millions of years old. Every time they cut a loss quickly, they were rejecting their ego's desperate need to be right. Every time they held on to a winner longer than felt comfortable, they were resisting the urge for instant gratification. This is the heart of trading discipline. It isn't just about rules, it's about rewiring your very nature. And in the next section, we're going to dig into that battle. We'll explore the psychological traps that destroy traders, and why Richard Dennis's rules weren't just financial, they were psychological warfare. Because the truth is, if you can't master your own mind, the market will master it for you. Stick with me. This is where the real fight begins. The turtle experiment revealed something most traders never want to admit. The hardest part of trading isn't the market, it's yourself. Think about it. Every instinct you have as a human being is designed for survival. To seek comfort, to avoid pain, to protect your ego. And those instincts, they are deadly in the market. Richard Dennis understood this. That's why his system was more than just numbers. It was a test of willpower. Every trade forced his students to confront the deepest fears and flaws inside themselves. Take losses, for example. Losing hurts. It's wired into our biology. From childhood, we're taught that mistakes are failures, that being wrong is shameful. So when a trade goes against us, our natural instinct is to deny it, to hold on, to hope, to pray the market will turn back in our favor. Anything to avoid admitting we were wrong. But Dennis's rules demanded the opposite. Cut losses quickly. Admit defeat fast. Take the pain immediately, while it's still small. Can you feel the psychological conflict in that? Everything inside you screams, hold on, it'll come back. But discipline whispers, cut it now before it destroys you. Now flip to the other side, profits. Winning feels good. It feeds our ego. It validates us. So what do most traders do? They grab profits the moment they see them, afraid the market will take them away. They take $100 here, $200 there, pat themselves on the back, only to watch the trade soar thousands more without them. But Dennis's rules again demanded the opposite. Hold your winners. Sit through discomfort. Watch profits balloon, retrace, balloon again. Suffer through the emotional roller coaster of unrealized gains because discipline says, stay in. Do you see the pattern? Discipline in trading means going against your very nature. It means embracing losses quickly and holding on to discomfort longer than feels safe. It means acting in ways that feel almost inhuman. And that's why most traders fail. Not because they're stupid, not because they don't have access to good strategies, but because they're human. The turtles faced this head on, and it broke some of them. Imagine being handed a system that's proven to work. You see your fellow students making money with it. You know the rules are sound. And yet, you still can't follow them. You cut a winner too early. You hold a loser too long. You size too big because you're greedy. You size too small because you're afraid. And the market punishes you. Again and again. This is what Richard Dennis was trying to show the world. The enemy isn't the market, it's the trader's inability to master their own psychology. Let me bring this closer to home. How many times have you looked back at a losing trade and said, I knew I shouldn't have done that. I broke my own rule. How many times have you promised yourself, never again, only to repeat the exact same mistake days later? This is the cycle discipline is designed to break. But here's the brutal truth. Discipline is painful. It feels unnatural. It feels boring. It feels like denying yourself every instinct that makes you human. And that's why it's so rare. Richard Dennis wasn't just a trader. He was a psychologist in disguise. He designed a system that forced people to confront their deepest weaknesses. He gave them rules, not to make them rich instantly, but to reveal whether they had the strength to follow them under fire. And this is where we uncover the real secret. Trading is not about predicting markets. It's about predicting yourself. Can you predict how you'll react when you're down 3 trades in a row? Can you predict whether you'll stay disciplined when your account is in drawdown? Can you predict whether you'll stick to your rules after a string of painful losses? Or whether you'll throw discipline out the window and start gambling to make it back? This is the test every trader faces. And most fail it. But here's the hope. Discipline can be built. Just like a muscle, it can be trained through repetition, accountability, and reflection. The turtles who succeeded weren't superhuman. They were just willing to suffer through the discomfort long enough for discipline to become habit. Now here's something Richard Dennis knew that most traders miss. Discipline isn't just about following rules, it's about identity. If you see yourself as a gambler, you'll gamble. If you see yourself as a victim, you'll sabotage yourself. But if you begin to see yourself as a disciplined trader, as someone who does what needs to be done regardless of feelings, you'll begin to act in alignment with that identity. This is why Dennis drilled discipline so relentlessly. He wanted his students to become disciplined traders, not just act like them. So let me ask you a question right now. Who are you in the market? Are you the disciplined trader who follows rules with precision? Or are you the emotional trader who knows what to do, but can't bring themselves to do it? Be honest, because the market will expose the truth anyway. And here's where things get even deeper. Trading discipline isn't just about markets. It's a reflection of life. How you do one thing is how you do everything. If you cut corners in life, you'll cut corners in trading. If you lack patience in life, you'll lack patience in trades. If you avoid discomfort in life, you'll avoid it in the market. This is why Richard Dennis's secret feels so much bigger than trading. He wasn't just teaching people how to profit from trends. He was teaching them how to master themselves. And the lesson echoes louder today than ever. Because in today's markets, faster, noisier, more tempting than ever, the pull of emotions is stronger, which means the need for discipline is greater. If you take nothing else from this story, remember this. Discipline isn't about controlling the market. It's about controlling yourself. And when you can do that, when you can master the psychological battlefield, you unlock the real secret Dennis lived by. In the next part, we're going to dive even deeper into this paradox. Why discipline, the most boring thing in trading, is also the most powerful. Why rules that look simple on paper feel impossible in practice. And why, if you can endure that paradox, you will separate yourself from 99% of traders forever. Stick with me, because this is where discipline becomes destiny. Here's the part most traders will never admit out loud. Rules are boring. Systems are boring. Discipline is boring. And that's exactly why most traders fail. The market is intoxicating. It's flashing lights, adrenaline rushes, endless possibilities. Every candlestick feels like it holds a secret. Every chart pattern whispers a promise of riches. That energy pulls you in and makes you want to act, to chase, to tweak, to outsmart. But Richard Dennis knew something most never learn. The boring path is the profitable path. His system wasn't exciting. It wasn't sexy. It was mechanical, repetitive, predictable. Enter on a breakout. Exit on a reversal. Risk a fixed percentage. That's it. And yet, that boring system built fortunes. The paradox is this. What feels exciting in trading usually costs you money. What feels boring usually makes you rich. Think about it. What feels exciting? Taking oversized risks. Jumping into trades because you have a hunch. Adding to losers because you're convinced the market will turn. All of those things trigger dopamine. They feel alive, powerful, intoxicating. And yet, time and again, they're the very things that blow accounts apart. Now, what feels boring? cutting a loss quickly, even when you hate admitting you were wrong. Sitting on the sidelines for days because the setup hasn't appeared yet. Holding on to a winner without touching it, even when every fiber of your being wants to lock in profits. These are the boring actions. They don't give you that instant hit of excitement, but they're the very behaviors that compound into wealth. Dennis understood this paradox and made it the cornerstone of his edge. He didn't ask his turtles to be geniuses. He asked them to be boringly consistent. And that's where the real war begins, because human beings are wired for excitement, not monotony. Every trader who sat at the screen had to fight that pull. Imagine sitting through 10 losing trades in a row. The rules say, keep going, the edge will play out. But your brain screams, stop. This doesn't work anymore. Change something. Or imagine sitting on a trade that's up massively and the rules say, hold on. But your brain whispers, take it now before it vanishes. Discipline means overriding that voice. It means obeying the boring rule, not the thrilling impulse. This is why Richard Dennis's story is so powerful. He wasn't selling magic formulas. He was selling reality. And the reality is this. The market will always tempt you to act out of impulse. But the traders who last, the ones who build fortunes, are the ones who embrace the boredom. Let me ask you a question right now. When was the last time you broke your own rule? Be honest. Maybe you promised yourself you'd never move your stop loss. But then the market edged closer and you nudged it down, just this once. Maybe you said you'd risk only 1% of your account per trade. But then you went in heavy, convinced you couldn't lose. That little crack in discipline is where failure seeps in. And Dennis knew it. That's why he drilled into his students that the system was only as strong as their ability to follow it. Here's a truth most traders don't want to hear. You don't need a better system. You need a better self. Your system might already be good enough to win. The question is, do you have the discipline to let it work? Richard Dennis turned discipline into his edge because he understood that strategies can be copied, indicators can be shared, patterns can be taught, but discipline cannot be borrowed. Discipline is personal. It's earned in the trenches of your own mind. And here's what makes this paradox so cruel. You'll often be punished in the short term for doing the discipline thing. You'll cut a loss, only to watch the market turn back in your favor right after. You'll sit out of a trade, only to see it take off without you. You'll hold on to a winner, only to give back some profits before exiting. In those moments, you'll feel like discipline betrayed you. But zoom out. Over weeks, months, years, discipline is the only thing keeping you alive. It's the only thing that compounds your capital. Without it, even the best strategy is worthless. Richard Dennis wasn't a saint. He made mistakes. He had drawdowns. But his greatness wasn't in perfection. It was in his relentless commitment to boring consistency. He embraced the paradox. He didn't need to feel alive in every trade. He needed to follow the process that guaranteed survival. And maybe that's the part of his story most traders miss. They chase the excitement, the rush, the story of the $1,600 turning into $200 million. But they don't see the years of monotonous rule following behind it. The turtles who succeeded were the ones who embraced that same paradox. They weren't necessarily the smartest in the room. They were the most obedient. They learned to silence the impulse and follow the boring path. And now the question shifts to you. Are you willing to live with that paradox? Are you willing to choose boredom over excitement, rules over impulses, survival over thrills? Because the truth is, most traders aren't. And that's why most traders fail. But if you are, if you're willing to embrace what feels boring, you just might discover the same edge that built one of the greatest fortunes in trading history. And that leads us into the final step of this journey, your step. Because Richard Dennis's secret isn't just a story from the past. It's a challenge to every trader alive today. In Section 5, we're going to bring it all home. We'll talk about how you can take the discipline paradox and make it your own edge, starting right now. And I'll give you a 30-day challenge to put Richard Dennis's philosophy into practice in your own trading. Because stories are powerful, but transformation only happens when you act. So here we are. We've walked through the legend of Richard Dennis, the man who turned $1,600 into $200 million, the teacher who proved that discipline was the true edge through his turtle experiment, the trader who embraced the paradox of boring rules over thrilling impulses. But the story doesn't end with him. It continues with you. Because the markets haven't changed. Human nature hasn't changed. Fear, greed, impatience, overconfidence. They're as alive today as they were in the 1980s when Dennis taught his students. The difference is that now you have a choice. You've seen the truth. You know the real edge. The question is, what will you do with it? I want you to imagine something. Imagine yourself 30 days from now. You've committed, truly committed, to discipline. Not just in theory, but in practice. For 30 days, you don't chase the market. You don't move your stop. You don't overleverage. You stick to your rules with machine-like precision. What would your account look like? More importantly, what would your confidence feel like? Because here's the truth. Discipline builds not just profits, but identity. Every time you obey your rules, you're casting a vote for the trader you want to become. Every time you break them, you're handing power back to the old you. The one who self-sabotages, who chases, who loses. That's why I want to challenge you right now. A 30-day discipline challenge. For the next 30 days, pick a simple set of trading rules. They don't have to be perfect. In fact, they shouldn't be complicated. Keep it basic. Your entries, your exits, your risk per trade. Write them down. Post them where you can see them. And then, for 30 days straight, follow them with absolute discipline. No exceptions. You'll be shocked at what happens. Not just in your P&L, but in your mind. You'll feel the old impulses tugging at you, begging you to break the rules. But each time you resist, you'll grow stronger. And after 30 days, you won't just be someone who talks about discipline. You'll be someone who lives it. That's the real secret. It's not the system. It's not the Holy Grail. It's not the magic indicator. It's you. You are the edge. Richard Dennis proved that by training ordinary people into extraordinary traders, simply by giving them a set of rules and demanding obedience. Some made millions. Some failed. The difference wasn't the rules, it was the discipline. Now, let's be brutally honest. You will face setbacks. You will feel frustration. You might even slip once or twice. But the point isn't perfection. The point is persistence. The point is becoming the kind of trader who is ruled by discipline, not by emotion. And if you do that, if you embrace this challenge, your trading will never be the same again. So here's what I want you to do. Right now, commit. Say it out loud. For the next 30 days, I will trade with discipline. Write it in the comments. Make it public. Own it. And let's build a community of traders who choose consistency over chaos, rules over impulses, discipline over destruction. Because here at Trading Psychology Lab, that's what this is all about. We're not just chasing money, we're building mastery. We're not just learning strategies, we're rewiring ourselves to think and act like professionals. So if this resonated with you, do me a favor. Hit that like button so this message spreads to more traders who need it. Subscribe to the channel because we've got more deep dives coming. More psychology, more discipline, more tools to help you master the mind behind the market. And most importantly, drop a comment and tell me, where are you watching from? I love seeing traders from all corners of the world coming together to grow. This isn't just another trading channel. This is a movement to reclaim discipline in an industry obsessed with shortcuts and secrets. To honor the legacy of Richard Dennis, not by copying his trades, but by embodying his philosophy. Because in the end, that's the secret. The true wealth wasn't the millions. It was the discipline that created them. And now it's your turn. 30 days. Discipline. No excuses. You are the edge.